I want to highly recommend a book to help you come out of debt and get ahead. It's this one right here, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. You can typically pick that up on Amazon for between $10 and $20, a hard copy, a really nice hard copy, brand new. The best way to come out of debt and get ahead is to go into debt, good debt. This book, for example, if you spend 10 bucks on it, you just went $10 in debt to come out of debt eventually and to get ahead. You can spend $10 on this and make millions from what you learn in it. People have, and more people will. Now, it's the majority that have the complete opposite way of thinking. I'm in debt, I'm broke, so I'm not going to go into debt to come out of debt because it doesn't make sense to me. And therefore, they stay stuck in debt, paycheck to paycheck, or worse, year after year, in this circular pattern from this circular thinking that they're trapped in. And there's no law keeping anybody stuck there. It's just the confines of the mind that is closed, unopened, and that is tragic because it creates so much stress, and most of you know what I'm talking about, if not all of you. I know it firsthand. When I first got started, my initial investment into myself, going into debt to get out of debt and to get ahead financially, my initial investment was $240. It wasn't $10 or $20, it was $240. And that $240 at the time that I put that money down to go into debt, to come out of debt and get ahead, I didn't even have that $240. But I'm sure glad that I did it because I started to learn right away. I put it to work right away. And, well, it wasn't exactly right away I started getting my money back from my investment, but eventually it paid off and eventually it multiplied. And it was only 2.5 years after that, for me personally, that it took me to achieve financial freedom. And what I mean by that is no debt on anything, including my house, which I bought and paid for in cash, my car, everything, no outstanding credit card debts, nothing. And there's only about 2% of the population can say that they're financially free. The rest has got some sort of debt, whether it be a car payment, a mortgage is a big one, credit card debt, all these things. I've got none of that. And it's because I made that $240 investment, and I did it at a time that I did not even have $240. I put it on my credit card, and I was able to pay it off the following month by some other things that I was doing. So, for example, if you've been working, I don't know, 10, 20 years, and you don't have $240 you can put together, you don't have $10 or $20 you can put together after working 10 or 20 years, that's a perfect reason why you should be doing whatever you have to do. Sell your blood if you have to, and get that money so you can invest it in yourself. Otherwise, you're stuck year after year crying the same thing year after year when the problem and the solution resides in the same location. That valuable, incredibly valuable piece of real estate between your ears. That's the source of the problem and the solution. You are at the center of every problem that you've ever experienced in your life. That's a commonality. And you can also be at the center of every solution. So there's a lot of power in being at the center of every problem that you've ever experienced in your entire life. Because that is indeed the power for the solution as well. And that all resides right here. It's not the government. It's not what's going on in politics. It's not the economy. It's not your boss. It's none of that stuff. It's not your social conditioning. You have an incredible gift along with everybody else to change your mind. However you've been conditioned by your culture and by your social environmental surroundings, you have an incredibly powerful gift that you were given by your great designer to be able to change your mind. And people do change their mind. You've changed your mind before. You can do it again, and you can do it in a way that's actually congruent with your top priorities and more of the things that you want and less of the things that you don't want. But the first thing you have to do is start changing that self-talk that takes place in your brain. The talk that says, I'm broke, I can't afford to go into debt. I mean, if you're still talking like that, then welcome to your permanent house guest, and that house guest is called poverty. You have to go into debt to get out of debt. You got to go into debt of some kind. It doesn't even have to be monetary debt. When I put out that $240 on my credit card that I didn't even have to pay off, but I did pay it off the following month, the reason I was able to do that is because I was doing jobs for people for like 10 bucks an hour, mowing lawns, raking leaves, and odd things in the house. One lady paid me $300 to paint 3 rooms in her house. That was awesome. And then this investment vehicle that I had, that I put that $240 in, eventually that thing would earn me, it would build and build and build, and earn me a really nice passive income. And eventually, 2.5 years, like I said, into this, declare financial freedom and independence, buy a house in cash, and later on go on all these trips that you see me going on and sharing on Facebook. It's because I started off with that $240 investment into myself, and it was a necessary thing. If I did not do that, if I listened to what most people were telling me that they would do if they were in my shoes, then I would still not have $240. I would not have $40 to invest. I'd still be where those other people are, broke, that were telling me that it was a bad idea. You know what I'm saying? So if that's you, if you can relate to that, I want to tell you that you can also relate to coming out of that problem, because that kind of failure is very predictable. There's patterns to human behavior. I talk to lots and lots of people. I've worked with lots and lots of people. There are patterns to human behavior. There's one set of things that if you do them, you will be broke, and you'll probably be very unhappy, and you'll have health problems. And there's patterns you can do that will lead to being chronically diseased health-wise. But there's also other patterns you can engage in, and you can cross this fence anytime from one side to the other in either direction. But there's other patterns that you can do where if you do them, you will come out of chronic disease. You will get healthy. You will lose weight. You will have more money. Money problems will go away. You will have more of an influence over people positively. You will be happier, fulfilled, feelings of joy. They're patterns, and it's very predictable. And I know these patterns. I know a lot of them. And I'm able to look at people and see what they're doing, how they're thinking, the language that's coming out of their mouth. And just from what I've observed, not because I'm an expert, but because I've observed a lot of people. But based on what I've observed, if I were to, watch you for a day or a week, and how you talk, the words that are coming out of your mouth, what you're doing on a daily basis, what you're reading and things like that, I'm going to have a really, really good indication if things are going to get better for you the following year, or if things are going to stay the same or get worse. Because I recognize these patterns. It's all about pattern recognition, and then changing the pattern if you want something different. So what are you doing every day with your time? Your little daily rituals, we've all got them, and a lot of them might seem very insignificant, but they add up and they multiply over time. They really do. But how are you spending your time? Are you being faithful with what you've been given? If you are, you'll have more later of the things that you want. If you're not being faithful, then you're just going to have more of the things that you don't want, and that might be more debt problems, it might be more health problems, who knows what they are. But for the purpose of this video and getting out of debt, let me just fine-tune the rest of my talk to that. If you want to get out of debt, if you want to get ahead, the best thing you can do for yourself is go into debt by investing into yourself with a book like The Compound Effect, or a home-based business opportunity, or something of that nature, so that you can eventually come out of debt. And speaking of home business opportunities, that was my vehicle. When I put that $240 down on my credit card, I bought a home-based business, and it also went towards product, so I could be a product of the product, which for this company it's health and fitness. So I transformed my body, my health, my self-confidence, and that was all part of the business. So that's two big major birds with one stone, right? Money and health. And probably a billion other things that stem from those two problems that I solved. So if you'd like to know more about what I did, specifically what I did, get a hold of me. We'll talk about it. We'll see if this is for you or not. And if it's not, I want you to promise yourself that you will never stop looking until you find what it is that you set out to find, and then you go for it, even if it has nothing to do with me. But if this thing that I'm doing does turn you on, and it is a good match, then I'd love to do this with you and help you become financially free for whatever your reasons are, and to get ahead as far as you want to. That's all. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon.